Hello, hello. Hope everyone is doing well. I am gonna, as I always do, log into my phone real quick, make sure that our connection is up and running and we are all good. If you guys are here live, let me know. Let's see. Yep. Everything is working. If you're here live, please grant StreamYard permission so we can see your name, because I go live using StreamYard and it doesn't tell me who you are. It'll just say like Facebook viewer or YouTube viewer. So let us know your name so we can say hi back to you. I got Invisalign yesterday, so I feel like I have like a lisp and I'm spitting every time I talk. So bear with me today. Hopefully by next week, I will be much better at it. And I am very much in the Christmas spirit. If you can't tell, red and green. My house is fully decorated. Every single gift is wrapped. And I am just like, ho, 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 up in this bitch. So if you are new here, my name is Danae Wolf. I am a financial clarity coach and profit strategist, which means I help entrepreneurs like you understand the money side of your business so that you can increase profits and decrease stress. So today we are live streaming onto my YouTube channel, The Profit Factor, my Facebook group, The Profit Factor, and my business page, The Chic CFO. But we will also be repurposing this into a blog and a podcast episode over on Apple Podcasts under The Profit Factor Show. So today I am really excited because I've got a guest on with me, and I'm trying to be much better about bringing on guests. It is definitely a point of focus for me because I know a lot of amazing entrepreneurs and I want them to be able to share their zone of genius with you guys. So today we are going to be talking about six figures and freedom with Kelly Jones, aka the cleaning girl. Now, Kelly is an OG. She was like my third or fourth client. All of the early clients that I had, I'm no longer working with except for her, because I realized they were just not my ideal clients. Because you guys know in the beginning, when you're starting up as a service-based business, you kind of take what you can get. And she was actually the only one that once I actually was established enough to say, hey, who do I like to work with? And I was like, Kelly, boom, we're done. And everybody else we got rid of. So you guys know if I'm bringing someone on here to talk to you, I take it very seriously because they've got my stamp of approval that I'm sharing with my community. And it's really important that they are authentic, right? So I tend to bring on clients of mine because I see behind the curtain. I see their bank statements. So I know when someone is the real deal or if they're just full of a lot of fluff. And with Kelly, this chick is the real deal. And what she really excels at and what she does really well is making sure to have that work-life balance. And what I really love and what you'll see about her journey is how incredibly serious she takes it when she says, hey, I don't want to be working and a slave to my company, but she's like, but I also want to be bringing in the money. Like she's not an either or kind of girl. And I want my cake and I want to eat it too. And she's achieved it, which is really rare. And that's why I wanted to bring her on today. So I'm going to go ahead and patch her through. Hey, how are you? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you good. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. All right. So, Kelly, first, just give us a brief introduction to who you are, and then we're going to dive into the questions I've got for you.
Okay, so I'm Kelly Jones. I own The Cleaning Girl. We are a residential house cleaning company based in Wilmington, Delaware. We service one of the biggest counties here. Delaware, if anybody knows, it's one of the smallest states. And we have 3 counties, and we service the largest one, which is North. So we're about 30 minutes from Philly, right around the corner from Baltimore and Jersey, and 2 hours from New York. We're a virtual company. So we operate everything off of our app. I have an overseas team that helps me full time. I have, tons of girls that work for us. We operate Tuesday through Friday. And we've been in business forever. And we just launched our training academy this year.
Okay, so let's get into it, Kelly. Tell us how you began your entrepreneurial journey.
So I started my official entrepreneurial journey literally 20 years ago last month. And that happened, actually, I apologize, October, right? I still feel like we're in November, right? Even though it's December 1st. So last month, which was October for me. So I was working at the bank, and I was doing the grueling traffic time through 95, having to be on there by 5 after 7 with 2 toddlers, right? I had 2 toddlers at my feet at the time. And my husband worked, he's the worker bee. So his schedule always trumped mine. And so I had the responsibility of, dropping them off at daycare, picking them up, all the running around. And I had gotten into a car accident while I was working at the bank. And I had off for, a period of time, which happened to be the summer. So I spent that time at the UD pool, University of Delaware pool, with my kids. And I started to get the calls to come back to work. And I was like, oh my God, like, I am not going back to that job. Like, yeah, right. So one day my husband came in, and it was literally like the week before Labor Day. And they were on the answer machine, because back then that's when you had the answer machine on the counter, right? Like, we were talking like back then. So, he comes in and he's playing the messages, and he hears them saying like, hey, listen, we're expecting you to come back the day after Labor Day, which was literally less than 7 days. So I was like, oh my God, I have to confess, like, I got to tell him like what's going on. And so I told him, I was like, listen, like, I'm not trying to go back there. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, that's your job. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to go back.
And not to cut you off, but ladies, how many of us can relate to this? And that moment when you have to say to your husband, hey, I'm changing the game a little bit. I'm not going back to that job. I remember that conversation well.
Yeah. And, my husband's like totally old school. He's not, he just, back then, like, we weren't raised around all of this like entrepreneurial life. It was just like, listen, you graduate, you get a job. That was it. You weren't really taught anything else. So he's looking at me like I have 5 heads. And he was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, what can you do? And I was like, I can clean. Don't ask me where the answer came from. I still don't know where it came from. But growing up with a single mom and being the oldest, my mom was a night shift nurse manager. So we had chores, right? And I was responsible to like run the house when my mom wasn't home. So just by, nature, like, that's just all that I knew was to clean. And so he was like, all right, like, okay. So I put my notice in at the bank, and the next day I put in like a $60 business card size ad in the news journal, which they don't even do anymore.
Yeah.
And if they do anything to that, to that size, it's like $600. It's something outrageous. So I did that. And within the first month, I had my first 6 clients. Within that year, I acquired another cleaning company. Another lady had, kind of the same ad in the news journal selling her business. I called her, told her my story. My husband and I went over to meet her and her husband. She loved me. She loved like everything that I was doing, and, trying to fit my life into this, like 9 to 3 schedule. And she was like, we're going to do it. She financed the loan for me. And within that year, within the next 24 months, with the clients that I had started to grow on my own, plus hers, we literally like doubled sales. It was nonstop from there. I was grabbing anybody that had 2 legs and 2 hands that could clean.
Now, here is where your story gets really interesting. So you come out of the gates swinging, you build up this company, but you said, and I hope the listeners picked up on it, you said, I'm trying to build everything into this 9 to 3 schedule, because you're a mom and you wanted to make sure your schedule was the same as your kids. So tell everyone what happened when it just started to scale and you were like, this is not what I signed up for. And you made the decision to sell it.
Yeah.
Because you had to get back. You had lost sight of the freedom component, which was why you started it.
Right.
So tell us how you came to that decision and said, I got to sell this thing.
So it was about 9 years in. I had a new baby, right? And so all moms know, like, having a new baby, number one, that's a whole lifestyle change. Okay.
Mhm.
And number two, my kids were now 8 years apart. So my youngest and my newborn were 8 years. So now I have two kids in middle school and I have a newborn. This
Mhm.
was also during like the 2008, 2009 recession. So my husband was laid off, and here I was. We were swamped. I mean, we were working so many hours. I had so many girls working for me. We had so many houses. It was just out of control. That's also a time where social media really hadn't, it wasn't really out
It
there yet,
wasn't what it
right?
is today.
So,
Yeah.
this was still like a little kind of like just the beginning of emails, and cell phones were starting to hit the market really hard. So again, this is just all word of mouth. This is all referral based. So it's like if you screw up one time, 5 people are going to hear about it by the end of the
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of variables to consider, just running the business, where I was now as a new mom, and also what I had built with this team. And so, at the 9-year mark, I noticed that, we were busting at the seams. I had no plan in place, right? I had nothing was concrete. It was literally fly by night. I also was starting to just feel, a little bit resentful because my husband was now home all day with my newborn. And here I am out here scrubbing toilets when that wasn't the plan. But again, I never had a plan. So it's like I can only be angry
Yeah.
at myself. So then you start going through the whole mental shift of like, what am I doing? I'm the worst. I'm such a bad mom. All these things start tumbling down. And it was like, I'm done. Like, I'm
Mhm.
done. I hated my customers. I hated my cleaning girls. I didn't want to do anything but just sit home and be a mom. And
Mhm.
so I really needed to dial back. I had to sit down. I had to dial back and say, like, what am I doing? So I go back to my husband and I have another conversation. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I am just like, I'm done. Like, I'm zapped. And so he's like, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to sell the company. So, I met with a girlfriend of mine. Her mom was, she was a local competitor, but, she was much older. She had a very, very respectable team, a great work ethic. A lot of systems were in place. And I had a conversation with her, and she took over the company about 6 months later. So that freed up my time where I was like, yay, I did it, right? Like, now I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go, back to school, and I'm going to sit with my grandma while my grandpa walks the mall on Mondays, right? Like, I had all these plans. And at the end of the day, I was going to be with my kids. So I started to do some things, but little by little, weeks went by. I had a 2-year plan, right? I said, I'm going to take off for 2 years. I had money in the bank, right? I had all these ideas that I was going to put together. And that lasted for about, I'm going to say 3 to 4 weeks. I got a phone call from a contractor that we had did work for. And he was like, listen, I need you on the site at 4 o'clock. You need to do a walkthrough. I've got this job here. And I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, I haven't even taken a vacation yet. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then, so from there, I started all over again.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have another question before I get into that, but I wanted to stop first and ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I know the answer to this, but what were the biggest lessons you learned from that first company? Because what I love about your story is so often entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, because we tend to be a little bit more cautious, right, than males. We kind of get on that hamster wheel and we stay,
Yeah.
and we don't come up for air. And I love that you were just like, nope, I'm getting off this train. Like,
Yeah.
I am done. What is the biggest lesson you learned from that? And just saying, that's it. Like, I'm pulling the plug. I'm done.
So I think just as a female and as a mother, like, you have to listen to your body, right? And too often we don't. We are the last ones to go to the doctors. We're the last ones to take a class and show up to do the things that we need to do. And that was really a turning point for me because I started to get sick and I was literally burning out, like, at
That's
record
right. I
speed.
forgot you did start getting
Yeah,
sick.
I got sick and I was just like, listen, like, I can't be sick with 3 kids. Okay, first of all, I had 2. Now I have 3. I can't be sick. And so, as I've sold the business and I'm moving into the next direction, my husband now, they were laid off because of the recession. They go back to work now, and his schedule is once again the priority, right? And I was like, I had this grand plan that I was going to go back to school, or I was going to get a big corporate job, right? And I found myself literally getting back into that same tunnel that I was in 10 years prior, where the reason I wanted to get out of all that was because I was doing, 10 hours, getting on the road at first thing in the morning and then having to come home at 5, 6 o'clock and do it all over again. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So the biggest lesson I learned was, number one, making sure that I listened to my body. And number two, I had to figure out what was best for my family. And listen, every family has their own makeup.
Rhythm.
Right? Yeah.
What
Like,
works for
and
them.
what works for you is not going to work for us. And
Mhm.
for us, my husband's schedule, it trumps everything. So if he has to work on the weekend, guess what? I got to get the kids out of here by 10 o'clock because he's got to sleep, or vice versa. Right. And whatever he is off, that's when I plan everything. But at
Yep.
the same time, if my kids are not at school because they never have school, or somebody's sick, or, it's vacation, I have to make sure that my schedule can adapt to that because his can't. So there's certain things, as I started to look down that road, like, oh, it would be great to just go back to work and not have these responsibilities. The work life that's out there is not conducive to a home, a family. It's just
It's
not.
not.
Hopefully, after this whole great recession, is over, companies will now realize that, listen, if you want a great employee, you got to adapt to what's going on at home, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get the best of both worlds. And so that was my plan when I first started the cleaning company. Obviously, things got so out of control because there wasn't, a structure in place. But as I moved forward into the next phase, I knew from the lessons that I had learned early on that, oh, no. This is what we're going to do. This is who we're going to be able to attract. And this is what we're going to be able to maintain in the long run, which obviously is beneficial to me and my family. But I wanted to make sure that it was going to be beneficial to everyone else that was working for me.
Yeah. And I think, you really hit the nail on the head when you described your entrepreneurial journey, because a lot of women, we get out of the workforce because we're like, just like you said, my family life is not going to work with what my employer needs. It just, you
Right.
can't really have the best of both worlds unless you have a rare employer. But for most of us, we couldn't balance being the type of mother and wife we wanted to be and work that type of corporate schedule. And then we branch off, we start our own companies, and inevitably, if we're lucky, I guess this is really kind of first world problems, but if your business succeeds and scales, you do find yourself in a situation where you're working, if not more than you did back when you were in corporate America. And I see a lot of women, they're exiting the workforce, starting up a business, and then they're exiting entrepreneurship and trying to get back into the workforce because it's difficult to figure it
Yeah.
all out. And that's why I was so excited to have you on today, because I know how real this is. And I'm on financial calls with you and I'm talking about your profit margin was so amazing. And you're like, yeah, let me tell you what I worked last week. Like, your priority, like half the time, guys, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I'm like, and I'm like, I know I'm not even impressed with you right now, because Kelly's just like, how many hours did I work? Like, I know the money's there. Like, you are really great at checking yourself and making sure that if you don't have the time and energy to spend all that money I'm telling you're making, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you do a really great job with that. And what would you say is really the top factors that allow you to have this freedom today? Because you came back with the cleaning girl and you were, to me, all about what is my process? What is my system? If this takes 10 steps, what do I need to do to get it down to 5?
Yeah.
Because you really run a tight ship and you want to make sure that everything is efficient as possible, because that's the only way you can have your freedom. And I think so many female entrepreneurs think, if my business starts to scale, right, things are going to get out of control. So either it scales and they throw money at the problem and now they're making more revenue and less profit,
Right.
or they almost make themselves play small because they're scared to go big because they think they're going to bite off more than they can chew. I hear that a lot. So what would you say are the top factors that you've been able to have a business that's scaling, that steadily grows every single year, but you're still giving yourself that freedom? What are the top factors contributing to that?
So definitely having a plan, because I know, these 10 years compared to the last 10 years, there was no plan. So it's night and day, right? So having a plan, and it doesn't mean like, oh, I need to sit down and download like a 5-page business plan. No, it's just like, you need to know what you're doing from today versus tomorrow. Right.
Mhm.
And I work, and I work I know, and you know that we work off the 90-day, 12-week year, right? Where everything
Yeah.
changes in 90 days, right? So if anybody isn't aware of that, the 12-week year is an amazing, amazing book. I operate that way. It just, I have ADD, so it allows me to just kind of chunk down into little bitty sized pieces. And I'm able to really, relay that to my team, and then we can actually look at manageable tasks that can be achieved, right? And then we can change things that weren't working, and then be on, in a better position for the next 90 days. We're not waiting a whole year to make changes. No. In my attitude, everything should have been done yesterday.
Hold on, and I have to cut her off right there because, guys, one of her many strengths is this chick can pivot like none other. She is not one of those who is like, man, this thing isn't working. She's like, it's not working. I'm fixing it. I will get right back to you. Like, she will pull the plug. She does not stay on the misery train. Like, she will pivot in 2 seconds. If something is not working, it's not. She Marie Kondo's her business all the time. Like, she's not messing around with that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it drives my manager crazy, but she's like, just give it 30 days. I'm like, no.
You're like, it's not working. It's not bringing me joy. Get rid of it.
Yeah. So having a plan, definitely. And then number 2, making sure that you invest in your weakness. One of my main issues 10 years ago was that I didn't ask for help. I didn't know to ask for help. And to be fair, somewhat in my defense, 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of resources for women entrepreneurs. There just weren't, right? I mean, I remember going to SCORE when I was, afforded the opportunity to purchase the women's cleaning company. I went to SCORE. I met with 3 old white guys, and they like chastised me. They were like, "What are you thinking for buying this woman's business?"
Experience when I went to buy Primus.
I walked down there, I was like, oh my God, I need to beg for my job back because this is not a good idea. Mm-hmm. And I get home and I told my husband, he was like, screw them. This lady's like, she's got something, right? So luckily, I had a support system at home, because if not, I was going to, call the bank the next day and say, listen, forgive me. I've made a big mistake. I need my job back with the benefits. Okay, let's start over.
And I'm going to put at the bottom of the screen what you just said, because I thought that was so powerful. Invest in your weakness.
Invest in your weakness. And so for me, I know that I'm not a good manager. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to worry about what days you need off. If you've got court, you've got a flat tire, the kid's sick, I don't care. That's not what I'm good at. So I hire someone that's better at me to delegate and manage and take care of my team. For me, my strength is marketing, right? I am a beast at marketing. Our pink bubbles are everywhere.
Yeah. And marketing, PR, that's totally
all our thing, right? That's all my thing, I should say. And that's the role that I take in the company. Now, granted, there are high level decisions that I have to make, but they're behind the scenes. And I provide those results, on Mondays on our support call, right? There's certain things that I'm responsible for, but there's other things like, admin work and customer service and making sure that we've got, all these girls showing up on the Monday after a holiday that requires different set of skills that I'm not saying I don't have them, but I don't need to waste my energy on those skills. Like I said, there's somebody better that can do that. And that's what she gets paid to do. So I find that, especially in the cleaning industry, too many owners wear way too many hats.
Way too many hats. Stay in your zone of genius.
Stay in your zone of genius. And whatever you can't do or you're not sure about, find somebody that can. Listen, if you got a great cleaner and she's good at, you notice that she's really good on social media. Okay. So then maybe you take her down from 5 days to 4, and one day you pay her to do your social media. If you're not a social media girl, get off of there. Or stop paying this crap company $500 a month to do your crap social media, because I've seen it all out there and it sucks. So get the millennial or get the 25-year-old that just graduated and she knows how to get in and out of TikTok and Instagram. That's all she does. That's what they know. They're born and bred to do this stuff. Get her down to 4 days a week and get her to do your social media. You will immediately see a difference. Mm-hmm. So there's just things like I try to source out who I know and what I know to be my weakness and who I can find that can do it better than me. And I'm like, all right, what can we do here together?
I love that tip. What else would you say?
The third thing is being very specific as to who gets to come on our team. And that's managerial level, that's supervisory level, that's training level. And that's, I don't want just anybody representing our company, and I'm not just going to take a body because we've got extra houses. No, let's figure it out. And I think too often, again, in this industry, I was that girl 20 years ago. If you had 2 legs and 2 arms, you're coming to work, I'll train you. I'm not doing that, because it's not that big of a deal. If we got to take a cut or we got to do this because we don't have the right fit, that's just too bad. That's the cost of doing business. Because again, I'm not going to risk everything that we've built and the time and energy that my team is invested in you for you to be a joke. Like,
Yeah.
No, we're good. Like,
Yeah.
we're good. We'll wait a couple extra weeks till we get some more blood in.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. Now, what would you say to your fellow cleaning girls out there who just feel so overwhelmed? Because I see this a lot in the service space. Like, we want to get out of the corporate job, we get into our business, and we really go into it just kind of thinking it's a side hustle. I
Yeah.
have dreams of it being more. And then you kind of wake up one day, again, the lucky ones, right? First world problems, but you wake up one day and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
how did this even happen? And you are operating at such a different level. And it typically makes you feel very overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
that overwhelm and that sort of anxiety, it's very different to kind of feel anxious about, I don't know, seeing your in-laws or something versus like my entrepreneurial anxiety of whether it's a money stress or the business is just scaling, because our businesses are really our babies. Like, we take it so personally, and that overwhelm and over
Mhm.
that feeling of like being overworked, you're like, why did I do this? And then you
Yeah.
start second guessing yourself as an entrepreneur. And like you said, then you're like, I'm not spending enough time with my kids. Now I'm second guessing myself as a mom, as a wife, all these different things, because we as women put our hearts into everything we do.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think a
very true.
man is just like, oh, this stuff is scaling too fast. Good for me.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Yeah.
Because if they got to work more than they thought, they're not worried about, well, wait, I got the school play and I got to pack lunch. They don't have the same, again, I'm being stereotypical,
Yeah.
but they don't have the same sets of worries. So,
Yeah.
what would you tell the girls who are like, I'm overworked, I'm overwhelmed, I have absolutely no freedom, and I started this business to make money and to have freedom, and I'm not there.
So, in my 20 years experience, I have a lot of relationships with a lot of cleaning company owners, a lot of cleaning girls all over the world. And I can tell you in 2021 going into 2022 and where we were versus where we are today, and just the conversations that I have on a regular basis with these individuals, about 95% of the industry is overworked and overwhelmed. There's about 5% of us that have figured it out, that have a plan in place, a system that supports the entire structure of the company. And at any given day, we can just, flip a switch and sell, right? Like, we're good. Finances are good. Books are ready. Schedules in place. Processes are there. That's a very, very small number for such a humongous industry that
Yeah.
literally gets paid to clean up dirt. Okay. So when you look at all of the balls that are in the air, it's sad. It's sad. And there's a lot of variables that surround that because there's no professional certification. There's not any professional training. Anybody can literally just go to the dollar store, grab a bucket of supplies, put an ad on Facebook and get started. Right. It's which is good and bad. Right. There's again, variables to consider. But at the end of the day, I see it all the time. People get in way too fast over their head and they don't know when to stop. They don't know how to stop. They don't know what to do. So then they start looking at, again, how much money is it going to pay? Is it going to cost to get you to fix this for me? Right. And then you've got
They're throwing
vultures,
money at the problem.
out there, out there in the community and the groups and in the industry. Oh, well, it's going to cost this much and I could do this. No, what you need to do is you need to stop. You need to pause. You need to have a seat and you need to figure out what is it, have a hard seat and figure out like why did I do this? What am I trying to achieve here? What is the goal? And too often, I think as business owners, not just in the cleaning industry, but too often we don't reassess our goals. We reassess our goals every 90 days, okay? Because they can change. God forbid.
Because most of them are just trying to get through the
They're
day.
just
Like, forget the week. They're like, I so often hear, I take it day by day. My day starts with me worrying who's going to not show up.
Yeah.
And that just sets the tone for their entire day.
Yeah. So it's like, here you are. What you've done is you've left a structured environment to create your own. Bravo to you, right? That's what you wanted to do. But now you've literally just given yourself a glorified job. That's all
Mhm.
you've done. You've given yourself a glorified job. And here you are, before you were answering phones or whatever you were doing, you had people to deal with all the high level stuff. Well, now
Yeah.
it's you. And I think too often, just as business owners, again, not blaming our industry, but not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. Not
Yeah.
everybody is supposed to be a business owner. And
Mhm.
again, if that's the route that you want to do, that's great. But you have to pause. You have to stop and say, okay, wait a minute. What am I good at? What can I do to get this ball rolling and to keep it on the road without falling off? And who else do I need to reach out to help me keep things moving along? Because you
Which
can't do
takes
it
us
all
back to your point,
yourself.
invest in your
You
weakness. And
can't
they
do it
talk
all
about
yourself.
this in E-Myth. You've probably read that. If you are a technician, right? I think that's what he calls it. He calls it a technician. So in this example, it would be if you're just really good at cleaning, it might not necessarily mean that you're going to be really good at running a cleaning empire.
Right.
They're two very different things. And being able to either pivot and adapt and learn, or saying, you know what? I am best in the field. I'm going to clean and I'm going to hire a kick-ass ops manager to run the back end. Or you're going to say, I'm not going to clean. I'm going to run, but you have to pick a lane and stay in it.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, picking a lane. I'm really big on picking a lane. And I will tell people all day long, like, you got a lot going on. You need to pick a lane because you're all over 95. You are all over 95. You're making me dizzy. And one of the things that I see a lot, especially in the groups, like the local Facebook groups, you have all these girls just popping up. I'm going to offer this. I'm going to offer that. And a lot of the cleaning groups, I offer this. I offer that. Listen, it's a mess. This is a mess. This is just a complete circus. You need to pick one lane and be great at it. And once you have that down and you're profitable and things are moving along, it's a well-oiled machine and you can just sell it anytime, any given day, then you move over to lane B.
Yes, guys, that was such a powerful point for you service providers, whether you're a cleaning company or not. What she's saying is you don't need to clutter your offerings with a million different services. Perfect one. Be amazing at one, then begin to branch out, because this is all about, remember, today's talk is about getting you guys that freedom. And freedom, I feel, definitely comes from simplicity.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that we're not just throwing money at a problem, throwing different offers out there, right? People are like, oh, well, if I'm not getting enough bookings on this, I'm going to start offering laundry services.
Yeah.
Well, if you couldn't book your first service offering, you probably are going to have the same challenge because you've got a marketing problem, not a service offering problem.
Right.
So I think that's really, really great advice. Now, if someone's out there and they want to connect with you, tell them more, because you've got some great online communities. So tell them about how they can connect with you and where they can find you online.
So online, I'm on Instagram at the Cleaning Girl Official, and
put these down here.
Yeah. And then Facebook, we have our Facebook Clean Your House group that you can connect with me in there for right now. And then in January, I will have a public group just for cleaning girls as we start to build out our business in a box model. And then also with everything going on with the training academy, I'll have more information for that too.
Awesome. So you guys can follow her here on Instagram. She does amazing video tutorials on how to clean. You can obviously tell from looking in the background with her bubbles and stuff, like branding is definitely a very, very strong point in her zone of genius. Her pink microfibers are like famous around town. Actually was using one of them this morning, and I don't clean, but if I do, I'm using one of her microfibers. But you guys should definitely connect with her. I am pushing her behind the scenes to get out there and start giving you guys some offerings if you're a cleaning company and you're looking for guidance. She is an untapped resource, and I'm super excited that hopefully she will be launching some stuff for you guys. But definitely follow her on Instagram. Reach out to her if you guys have any questions. She is a girl's girl. She is one of the biggest entrepreneurial cheerleaders. Like, when she is in your lane, like, it's just amazing. She's really a wonderful person. In this entrepreneur world, like, it can get lonely. So I think having business besties is really great. And I can definitely say she's one of my business besties, which is awesome because she happens to be a client as well. But follow her content, and I hope you guys save this training today because she dropped some really great gems. And I think especially this time of year, I think the movie is Bad Moms, when they're like, oh, moms don't end joy, they give joy. Because like, we're so crazy this time of year. So anything that can get moms in a place where we've got more of that work-life balance, I'm just all about it. And I think having freedom in our business, we need to get back to that. I think one of the things that we kind of miss in the entrepreneurial community is nobody ever wants to talk about money. So that's the main thing we talk about here. But people don't really want to talk about freedom because I think we've got this culture of hustle, hustle, hustle. And you really need to like take a time out. You need to take a seat. Like Kelly said, you need to take a seat, invest in your weakness, make sure that you guys are staying in your zone of genius, and just realize if you are not happy with the way things are going right now, like you're not trapped. Like she pulled the plug, built back bigger and stronger. And I'm not saying you guys have to pull the plug and you have to sell, but you do need a wake up call to say, okay, this is not how it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of people get stuck in this hamster wheel of this is what entrepreneurship is. And Kelly is telling you, no, it's not, because I pulled the plug and I got it better. And you guys know my journey. I had 2 restaurants and I did get to a point where I thought, this is just what it is to be an entrepreneur. And no, I was very wrong. I sold those. Now I've got this company and I've got that work life balance. But I think what you guys need to take from today is you've got to be intentional. Like you're not going to just fly. Like she said, I was taking anybody with 2 arms. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants. You have to be intentional. You have to have a plan, like she said, because it is very possible, but it's not going to just fall out from the sky. You guys got to go after it and you got to be intentional. Just the way I tell you guys, be intentional with your profit. You got to be intentional with your time and making sure that any type of process or system you put into your business, you think, what is this going to do to my day-to-day routine and my schedule?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on here. I'm a huge, huge fan of yours. I'm super excited to see what you do in 2022. Any group you launch or anything that's going to be good for my community, let me know. I will gladly share it. And all of you guys, you can find her at the Cleaning Girl Official over on Instagram.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.